Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. Whilst perusing the interwebs, I randomly came across this guy, Andrew Tate. If you don't know who he is, he's a former world champion kickboxer who is now an influencer and content creator who has some very strong opinions about men and women. Honestly, I found him hilarious. And I started to watch a lot of his greatest hits on YouTube. But then I came across this clip where he totally trashes therapists, and now we have a problem. So in this video, I'm going to react to Andrew's rant and completely and humiliatingly dismantle all semblance of logic and leave his argument impotently flapping in the wind. You messed with the wrong guy, Andrew. Now get ready for a beat down, not physically, just a beat down of your arguments about why therapy is unnecessary, a scam, and hurtful. Let's get into this clip.
And I have a genuine problem with therapy as a whole. What is therapy? Well, therapy is the idea that you need to go through life crying about the bad things that have happened to you to some other mortal being as if they are God, and that somehow that makes things better.
Right off the bat, that's not therapy. Sure, there's crying in therapy, but I certainly do not think I am God, nor do I want any of my clients to think I'm God. I would want them to think of me as an ally and a professional who can guide them into getting them where they want to be mentally and emotionally. And in therapy, you don't just focus on your problems. There's processing, challenging, redefining, examining, amongst other things.
To go to some other normal human with their own problems, who's no better than you, and sit there and go, oh, this happened, that happened, and that somehow this inaction is going to improve your life.
I do agree that I'm no better than any of my clients, or better than anyone for that matter.
One of my largest problems with therapy is that it's an antithesis to my worldview. And my worldview is that action always wins. Momentum, speed, power, forward, forward, forward. Anyone who's done business with me knows the first thing I say is, okay, good idea. How quickly is it done? The sooner it's done, the sooner it makes money. If it takes 2 days instead of 1 day, that's one extra day we've lost we can never make money during. You want to be a millionaire, do things quickly. Action wins. Therapy is not action. Therapy is sitting and crying and complaining. Talk is not action. A fucking chit chat isn't action. Is it, G? No. G knows. Action is doing something. If you feel depressed, G, you're going to spill fucking coffee and you're ruining my Tate speech. Piss off. If you feel depressed, you go to the gym. You do something. You don't sit and cry about it. Oh, I feel depressed. Let's go sit and have a talk. Words don't count as action, not in the harsh realm of reality.
So talking is not action. Look, I get what he's saying. And if all you're doing is focusing on your problems and not doing anything about it, then I would have to agree with him here. But talking is absolutely an action. I mean, when it comes to taking or tackling a problem, what action are you supposed to take? You're supposed to think about it. You need a plan. You need to get advice from people you trust or people with knowledge or experience. You can't just start doing something just to do it. And that is part of therapy. People have problems. And in therapy, they come to sort out, understand, and make a plan of how to address those problems. Because when it comes to emotional problems, actions could look like drugs, alcohol, sex, violence, and the ending of relationships and many other things that people don't necessarily want to do. So, Andrew, on this point, I would like you to acknowledge that you are completely wrong and have not a semblance of a clue as to what you're talking about.
So that's one of the first problems I have with therapy. The second problem I have with therapy is therapists don't want you to get better. Therapists want little piles of goo they can poke at, little weak individuals they can just poke at and ask stupid questions to. We're going to pay an hourly rate forever. It's not in their business model to improve your life. It doesn't make any sense. They just want to sit there and let you just talk shit as long as it takes.
All right. Now, once again, I see what he's saying and I understand his logic, but like a lot of these points, his argument is riddled with holes. I'm sure there are therapists out there who are doing exactly what it's describing, but he is making a gross overgeneralization. Every single therapist is a manipulative, money-grubbing cheat. Look, the primary role of a therapist is to help someone. And We know that when we choose this profession. I would say the good majority of people who went into this profession wanted to help people and make the world a better place. I know I did. I think he's projecting and inserting his money-making mindset into the business model of therapy. And I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly didn't become a therapist to become rich. I think there are better ways to get rich. In fact, I think being a therapist is one of the worst ways. This leads me to the second hole in his argument. Therapy is a service. We provide people value through our service. If we do not provide value, then nobody is going to want our services, including our own existing clients. If people are not getting better, then they will leave. Can you imagine if this logic is applied to other service industry jobs? If I went to a piano teacher to learn a song and I wasn't learning piano, then I'm going to another teacher and I'm going to tell everyone not to go to that teacher. And you know how I get most of my referrals? From previous clients who I helped. If I do a good job, then I will always have a revolving door of clients who are happy, who will refer other clients to my service. If I do what Andrew is suggesting, we all do, then I guarantee my business would have failed a long time ago.
What's crazy about this is, how can you go and sit in front of a therapist and not cross your mind that this therapist has a bullshit life anyway? All these therapists are getting divorces and cheating on their fucking wives and are just as depressed as you. If therapists understand psychology so well, why are they not all living these perfect, ideal lives? Well, they're not, because they don't know shit.
So having a perfect life, is that a prerequisite for being a therapist? Well, being a good basketball coach doesn't mean you're a good basketball player. Greg Popovich never made it to the NBA. And being a good basketball player doesn't make you a good coach. Look up Magic Johnson's stint as coach. Look, therapists don't have all the answers to life. We are completely susceptible to the ups and downs of life just like everyone. We just have a specific training to understand and help people. And for the record, I'm not divorced or depressed.
The idea that therapy is somehow necessary or mandatory is just new age Western garbage. The thing with all this new age shit is that something should be universal across the human condition. If therapy was so necessary, it would have been necessary forever. The fact that it wasn't necessary before and is now necessary means it's new think, new age, and you've been conditioned to believe that you need it. People survived without it for a very, very long time.
You know, I actually agree with Andrew on this one. Therapy is not necessary. The vast majority of people do not need it to survive, but people have survived without a lot of things for a long time. Just because you can survive without something does not make that thing false. I remember a world without the internet. That doesn't make the internet false or relevant, but like the internet, therapy adds to people's lives and makes life better.
Therapy is not necessary. Action versus inaction. Therapists live in a world of inaction. To sit and chit-chat and talk and discuss. Maybe, tell me when you were 12, that time you had that orange juice, who gives a shit? I live in a world of action, and you know what action is? Physical force. Action. Me standing up is real action. Me whooping someone's ass is real action. Sitting there having a chit-chat and writing things down is inaction. Therapists live in a world of inaction, I live in a world of action. And as I said at the beginning, action always trumps inaction. Robin Williams is my test case. Robin Williams is the case people often come at me and say, well, if depression isn't real, why did Robin Williams kill himself? Well, I'll tell you why. Therapy is why. Robin Williams did 12 years of therapy. For 12 years, not only was he taking mind-altering antidepressant drugs, which is a video in and of itself, why I'll never do antidepressants, but on top of that, every single day he's sitting there with a therapist. If you sit in front of someone all day, every day, and talk about all the bad things that have ever happened to you all day, every day, you're gonna feel pissed off. Even I would want to jump off a fucking bridge if I spent 12 years talking to some dickhead about all the bad things that's happened in my life. It's detrimental. Sitting there crying about bad things is never gonna help you.
Robin Williams was a tragedy. But Andrew here makes a huge assumption that therapy killed him. How could he possibly know that? Well, he doesn't. He takes what he knows of Robin and injects his assumptions into the missing spaces of the story to come to the conclusion that supports his thesis. What happened to Robin Williams? I don't know. Maybe Andrew is right and therapy killed him, or maybe he was a tortured soul and this was inevitable and therapy helped him to hold it off for as long as he could. Maybe the drugs killed him. Maybe the drugs helped him. I don't know. But what I do know is that Andrew Tate doesn't know. And Robin Williams can hardly be evidence that therapy is detrimental to people.
If you're the kind of person who feels like they need therapy, you need someone to talk to make me feel better, do you know what you are? You're useless. Because in the harshest realities of this cold world, there are people in Syria whose entire families have been blown to fuck with a bomb from the sky, who are still getting up every day, making bread and selling it on the streets so they have enough money to buy a new pair of sandals sometime next year. While you're crying about nothing with your first world bullshit to some therapist who probably does coke on the weekends. My final point on therapy is as follows. It is detrimental. Not only is it useless, not only is it not science, not only is it bullshit, it actually makes people worse. The worst thing you can do if you have a problem is sit and talk about it all day. People say you shouldn't bury your problems because if you repress them, that's bullshit. World War II, how many people died? Did everyone sit around and fucking go, oh, we don't have time to rebuild all the cities and create the NHS. We need to sit and can talk about all the bad things that's happened. Every single person has a horror story, from Russia to Germany through France, England, America, the Japanese, the Philippines. Everyone has something bad to say. So let's somehow clone the entire population of Earth so we have enough therapists and sit there and talk all day instead of getting shit done. Bullshit. People shut up and they got shit done. There's nothing wrong with fucking having something bad happen to you, internalizing it the best you can, maybe speaking about it with someone close to you, but in general, just shutting the fuck up and getting on with it. Therapy is detrimental.
So again, I can't completely disagree. Yes, a lot of bad things happen to a lot of people, and they didn't have the luxury of dealing with the psychological consequences because there were things that needed to get done. But to deny that there were psychological consequences of something like war is clearly wrong. You can't just muscle your way through PTSD and trauma. Look at the war veteran statistics for suicide, drug addiction, and homelessness. Does that have nothing to do with the psychological price of going through it? Because that's what he is saying, and it sounds pretty ridiculous. It isn't something you can just action your way out of. There are good people who have dedicated their lives to studying the mind and how to help these people and have changed people's lives for the better, and that is undeniable. So, there it is, guys. The smackdown of the century. Two titans collided and one came out on top. Look, I believe Andrew's a good guy and that he's trying to convey a positive message. And I get what he's saying and I agree with some of it. Look, I'll say it. Not everyone needs therapy. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have helped people in my practice and I've seen the most amazing change in people. So please, if you feel like you need therapy, please don't think something is wrong with you or you are less than. If you have anything you'd like me to react to, please leave it in the comments down there. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.